What's going on, fellow A-plusers? It's your boy, Adam Perez. I'm back with a brand new video for you guys today as we're getting in our movie bag here this week. I got a movie review for you as I had the opportunity to check out the brand new Rami Malek film that just went ahead and dropped this week titled The Amateur. For those of you who don't know too much about this movie, it is in fact sort of like your spy thriller, your action thriller type of film. Kind of gave me vibes a little bit of that of like Born Identity with less sort of hand-to-hand combat and sort of using your intellect and your mind to kind of get through some of these situations in here. The premise of this movie is the main character played by Rami Malek. His name is Charles. He's a CIA sort of data analyst, a decoder, if you will. Very intelligent gentleman in here. His wife, played by Rachel Brosnahan, is in fact kidnapped and killed during sort of a hostage situation very early on in this particular movie. It's shown in the trailer. That's certainly not a spoiler whatsoever. And he wants to be the one to exact revenge, not necessarily somebody who is combat ready, to certainly say the least. So he gets mocked by a lot of people in the idea of, you can't possibly do this. And his journey throughout this movie is to show you, I certainly can, as he goes out for the people that wind up killing his wife in here. I was really impressed with the lineup, and that's one of the things that really brought me to this movie in regards to the lineup of actors. Rami Malek, big fan of it. Rachel Brosnahan is going to be our brand new Lois Lane here in a couple of months. She's in this film. John Bernthal, who I certainly love from a ton of things that I've seen him in, and of course, anchored by none other than Lawrence Fishburne. You can't go wrong with Lawrence Fishburne certainly being in your movie. Talent makes movies great, and I certainly had a fun time with this film, honestly. I had a really good time with this one, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about it. If you haven't had the opportunity to check it out, please do. It just dropped this week. I certainly highly recommend it. One of the things that I certainly will say about this film, I enjoyed sort of the intellectual aspect of it. I think Rami Malek plays Charles Heller in here, the main character, really well, and sort of like that introvert, the guy that's uh, is very unassuming. You wouldn't expect him to be able to be capable of doing the things that he's able to do in this movie. And he proved certainly a lot of people wrong. He definitely has sort of that timid personality about him. But when push comes to shove, and his wife is taken from him, I think Rami does a really great job of showcasing those moments of vulnerability, but then also sort of determination. And while watching this film, I was a little bit bummed about the idea that, like, man, Rachel Brosnahan is in a brand new movie and they kill her off within like the first 10, 15 minutes of this film. And I kept thinking to myself, like, man, I really wish I could see Rachel in a much bigger role than this. But I really like how they certainly utilized her character, if you will, throughout this film, in the sense of giving Charles that reminder, or having Charles continue to keep himself focused and keep his eye on why he's doing this in the first place. And I thought they actually kind of handled it pretty well. Some people I think refer to this sort of like as fridging a character, killing your spouse off, usually a female character, very early on in the movie or a television series in order to give your character sort of the motivation, if you will. So they definitely fridged her, but I definitely appreciate how they utilized her and allowing Charles to continue to realize what it is that he's fighting for. And because of the fact that he's really not that combat savvy, I think it does add to a level of intensity that this movie provides when he finds himself in situations. And you legit wonder, not only how is he going to solve this problem, but how is he, when confronted, how is he going to handle when things maybe don't necessarily go his way, or he's got to come up with an escape plan, sort of thing. And seeing how he plans this stuff out, especially as the movie progresses, definitely adds a level of intensity. But really cool to kind of see some of the things that he comes up with. He's kind of like a instead of like a Jason Bourne, he's kind of that of like a MacGyver, in the sense of being really intellectually brilliant. I really enjoyed also how they utilized Lawrence Fishburne in here, also working for the CIA, and a sense of having to try and train Charles a little bit. Like, if we're going to put you out in the field like that, let's at least see what you're more than capable of doing. And I love the fact that he emphasizes the idea like, yeah, you may never be a killer. You may never be able to kind of pull the trigger, but also finding out what he's really good at. And when you find out what he's really good at, you can see that he's definitely in some way going to even the playing field that a lot of people certainly in this movie definitely did not expect or think that Charles was certainly capable of. So very much a really cool story of like an underdog opposing, going up against the odds, and really coming out to dish out some vengeance and some revenge, if you will. Bumps into a lot of great characters that I think help push this story certainly forward. And I think for me too, a couple things that were a little bit frightening in this movie, and not that this is a horror film or anything like that, but just the insight in regards to how potentially a CIA agency is run. The idea of there being two things that I think really jumped out at me: the level of like technology and ability that maybe some of these agencies certainly have, in the sense of being able to track you, how difficult it is to kind of get off the grid, all the face recognition stuff that they have out there, how they're able to scan you, how they're able to listen in on your conversations and stuff. I really love the use of technology in this movie, but it also made it very frightening in the sense of like, is this technology real? Like, do they really like can they really find us this easily in that regards? That is certainly terrifying. But also the idea of like how agencies work behind the scenes, in the sense of you do have some people that go rogue and have like these ghost missions that maybe their own government certainly doesn't know about. But also the idea of like, what does justice mean for some of these agencies? Despite the idea of Rami Malek's character Charles having his wife killed, you would think the idea of finding some what's the word I'm looking for? um Finding some sort of resolution, some resolve, some justice for the death of his wife. They kind of look at the bigger picture, in the sense of like, if we take down one person, that's going to really kind of mess up our whole point of wanting to take down the whole chain of people. So we can't really bring your wife justice because there's a bigger picture here and she's just kind of a small part, right? And this is really the motivation that Charles needs in order to just be like, look, you guys aren't going to do anything. So I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands. So I think the concept of how these agencies view justice, how they sometimes turn a blind eye, I think is kind of eye-opening in this movie as well. So, not a great film, not one that I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to see again sort of thing, but a really enjoyable film, a cool script, great performances. I think for me, the performances really kind of stood out in regards to taking the script and helping certainly elevate it. Again, Rami Malek and I think Lawrence Fishburne are probably the stands out in here. And even though John Bernthal isn't in this movie as much as I personally would like him to be, when he is in this movie, it certainly works. So smart film. Also, again, when you're having to deal with somebody who doesn't necessarily want to pull the trigger or can't pull the trigger when it comes face to face, seeing how he uses his smarts to kind of get his revenge, get out of certain situations, is really something to definitely behold. So if you're big into action thriller stuff with some spy espionage involved, this is definitely one for you. But look, at the end of the day, these are simply my A+ opinions. I want to know yours. What did you guys think about The Amateur? Are you interested in certainly checking this out? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. But until then, do me a big favor. As always, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.